Aloha, Merry Christmas. I'm trying to get in the spirit today, and one of the things that I like to do every year is make St. Lucia rolls. Now, if you're not familiar with those, they are tradition in Sweden, and my grandfather's from Sweden. The celebration of St. Lucia coincides with the winter solstice, and in living off-grid, you get very excited when you're close to the winter solstice because that is the shortest day of the year. Even though here in Hawaii the short days and the long days don't vary a lot, it still varies a little bit. So I'm getting ready. Even though the kitchen and the house isn't totally done, I'm getting ready to make my St. Lucia rolls today. And also, living off grid, you have to always be aware of the weather. And as I looked at the weather this morning, I said, oh my gosh, we're going to have every day is rainy after today until December 12th, which is St. Lucia Day, the day you traditionally eat the rolls. So I'll make them today. Steve and I will sneak one, and then we'll have one today, but then we'll wait and I'll put them in the freezer, and we'll have some next week to celebrate the day. Well, I wanted to show you the ingredients I'll be using for the St. Lucia rolls. I've got 1 cup of milk, saffron threads, butter, flour, yeast, instant mashed potatoes, salt, vanilla extract, and eggs. And then we did go to Target on Black Friday, and I got this beautiful mixer. I'm so excited. That actually has the arm to lower and raise the bowl. Whoops, I don't have that in. But one thing I wanted to tell you is I've mentioned a few times that I got down to 2 suitcases of belongings to bring. And my saffron threads were one of the few items I brought with me. I found this at a TJ Maxx or a Ross. I don't know if the label's still on it. And this is an amazing price, $7.99. If you were to buy saffron, when I could find it in the Midwest, I think it was like $17 for a few threads. So this was one of the few things I decided to bring with me. And it still should be good because I still haven't opened the container, and each capsule is, has an amount. So those are the ingredients, and I'll get going now. So I started by heating 1 cup of milk over a medium burner and added 1/4 teaspoon of saffron threads that were crushed slightly. Then I added 1/2 cup of butter that was unsalted, and I chopped it up. And once I took the saffron and milk off when it was a nice warm temperature, I added the butter, stirred it in, and now I'm going to put it in the refrigerator to cool it off for 20 minutes. So now I get to use my mixer for the first time. I'm really excited. I'm going to be sifting or whipping together 4.5 cups of flour. I'm just using all-purpose flour. 1 tablespoon of the yeast. Now this yeast packet wasn't quite a tablespoon, so I opened up a second packet so I could get exactly 1 tablespoon of the yeast. 1/4 cup of instant potatoes, and 1/3 cup of sugar, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. The sugar I forgot to include when I showed you the video of all the ingredients. But now I'm going to whip those together. Okay, the saffron milk butter mixture is cool enough now. I put it in the fridge, which only took 20 minutes, instead of leaving it out at room temperature for 30 to 35 minutes. And then I'm going to add to the dry mixture also 2 eggs and then 1 egg yolk. The egg white I'm going to set aside, and I'll use that later when I make the egg wash. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I had the whip attachment on, but now I'm going to switch it to the dough hook. Now you can either use a mixer for 7 minutes, or you can knead the dough by hand for 10 minutes. My hands are a little tired after moving all that drywall the other day with Steve, so I'm just going to use the machine. The dough was just a little bit what I call jaggy, not real bad, but I put just a little bit of butter on my hands, and I'm making it into a nice ball so it's nice and smooth. And you do want to put it in a greased bowl. Well, it's been an hour. My timer just went off. Let's see what we have. Ooh, this is nice and puffy now. Well, the next step is to cut this dough into logs. You can either make 12 rolls or 24 rolls, and I'm going to make 12 just because I like them bigger. They're softer that way. And I'm going to take a serrated bread knife to cut them into 12. You can also make them into 24 rolls, but they're just obviously smaller. So there's 6. Two, 3, 4. Now I have this tape measure sitting out because you want to roll these to about 15 to 18 inches. Okay, so that's a little short yet. And that's 15 right there. I think I'll stop there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 ends and roll them opposite of each other to the center. And you make an S. I kind of flatten it down a little bit. That's what they look like. So I left a step out. After you cut the dough into 12 pieces, you let it set for 10 minutes. That allows the gluten to become more flexible. Now I'm going to shape them into the S's. And it's rolling much better this time. Nice, much nicer texture. Okay, now I'll roll it into the S. And the S stands for Saint Lucia. So maybe you can see the difference here. This is the one I rolled the first time. And the edges of the dough are a little, there's lines and whatnot. And then here's the one I just rolled. And the dough's a much nicer, puffier texture. Now I'm going to set these on parchment, cover them, and they raise again. Okay, so the final proofing, these have been sitting for 30 minutes covered. And then I'm going to take that egg white that we had earlier. I added a little water to it with a fork. I stirred it around. This is our egg wash. I recommend the pastry brushes that are not plastic. I prefer these. I think most people do. But just in case you go out and buy one, get one that's like a real brush. I'm just gonna put some egg wash on these and slip them in the oven for 18 minutes. The recipe that I'll include with this is off the King Arthur flour website, and other recipes that I have found on the internet. They say to sprinkle it with sugar, with what's called a pearl sugar, which is a bigger granules. But I don't like the crunchiness of it myself, so I don't use sugar. And that's why I like the blue or the cream cheese frosting. Well, the rolls are about ready to take out. They were browning a little bit too much on top, so I did put a piece of parchment paper so they wouldn't keep cooking on the top. Let's see what they look like. There we go. St. Lucia rolls. I'll put the second batch in now. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me bake my yearly St. Lucia rolls.